Okay, thank you all for coming to the second session, second listening session. The first one was a great success. We appreciate everybody coming out. If you came back again, thank you. If it's your first time, then thank you also. This is very important to us. We need all these ideas so we can formulate a plan. And the ideas that we've been given have been great ones. And with that said, thank you once again. I know the weather's bad. I'll turn it over to Judge.
Thanks, Mayor. This is a great project. It was a joint project by way of reminder between the county and the city, and we applied for a grant, received a grant for a net amount of around $7,500 to $8,000, to which we were able to secure a consultant that works with UK from the CEDIC organization. We have acronyms everywhere in our world. I won't try to tell you what it stands for because I have no idea what it stands for.
Thank you for your
But Allison is here to help guide this process once again. By way of reminder, she's going to tell you in just a minute, we had about 1,500 surveys completed. That is tremendous, tremendous. And what was great about the first one is the mayor and I talked as we began that session is that we're not here to redefine our challenges. I think we're all pretty clear on what our challenges are. We're not here to redefine that. We're here to positively find solutions to our challenges. And so the last session was just super, super positive. And that's what we want tonight, because we obviously all know we're going to gain traction. We're going to make some progress when that's the tone, when that's the environment in which that we're working together in. And so she's got this laid out for us this evening, and so we'll turn it over to Allison Davis, who is with UK.
Thank you very much. All right. Well, good evening, everybody. Okay, no one's responding. Wonderful. Good evening, Allison. Thank you.
She actually thought this was going to be about a five-person meeting.
Yeah, for the second time in a row, I'm somewhat overwhelmed with how many people showed up, because we really thought it was just going to be the three of us. Well, Gary, you would have been there too, I'm sure. But we thought, 2 o'clock today, we're like, there's no way. The rain is really heavy, so what a wonderful testament. So raise your hands if you were not here the previous session in November. Okay. Awesome. So you see, this is a big challenge for me. So we are winging it a little bit tonight because I want to make sure those who weren't with us the first time can get up to speed, and those who were here still have an opportunity to move the conversation forward. So you'll have to kind of appease me for a little bit as I go through some of the stuff that we've seen, and then we'll move forward. My hope is by the end of this evening that we will have taken things that you can't physically see right now because the font's really small, but came from the last meeting and build upon that. We got tremendous, tremendous feedback. It was very positive. My favorite thing was looking at people's Facebook pages after the last event and seeing the positivity. It really, it was a really wonderful event, and I know tonight will be just as wonderful. So, as the judge said, I'm Allison Davis. I'm faculty at University of Kentucky, affiliated with Cooperative Extension, and I am here to kind of walk through where we are and then go to the next step. The idea today, again, is to listen to you. I'm only going to stand here long enough to just kind of summarize what we've heard so far, and then give you the floor to continue those conversations and moving forward. I will give the judge another 5 minutes down the road and the mayor to talk about some of the big things they're working on so that we don't duplicate efforts. And it was great because some of the things they're working on totally align with the issues that have been identified. So, really quickly, for those who weren't here, this process started back in October-ish, yeah. We have a steering committee. Raise your hand if you're on the steering committee for the strategic plan. 1, 2, 3, Jason, okay. All right, and this steering committee really represented a broad group of folks across the county that are going to be walking through this process with you and then helping to define the final plan. How many of you all filled out the survey? Great. If you haven't, it's still online. And so that survey was an opportunity for as many people as possible to provide a voice. We had, I think at the end of the day, I haven't put in the middle school surveys yet, but last time I checked, we were about 1,400 to 1,500 surveys that we could use. So that is tremendous. What a huge amount of input. And I can't remember how many pages of comments that I gave Regina and the judge, just to give you a sense of how many people not just filled out the survey, but then answered the questions in their entirety and gave some really thoughtful feedback. All that information will be a part of the plan, so you'll be able to see those results when the plan is released. I'm going to go through some of them relatively quickly so that we can spend all of our time, as much of our time, doing listening to you all. After we're done here today, our hope is to do one session strictly geared towards those under the age of 18 or 18 and younger to make sure we have that voice as we move forward, and then we start crafting the plan. So tonight, it's going to be important that we try to get specific on some of the issues that we know don't have a lot of energy right now, but we know the energy in the room will take care of them. So that's our hope tonight. So I'm going to go through these. If you were here last time, I promised to go through them quickly, but to give you a sense of, I hadn't redone the surveys after a couple hundred more, but a really nice distribution of people responded to this. And so we always want to see young folks have a voice because they're the ones who will be living here 20, 30, 40 years from now. And so we want to be building a future for them as well as for our current residents. And so this is really impressive. And I think I mentioned this last time, to have a big chunk of folks, so what is that, almost 800 people under the age of 44 respond. That is really tremendous. It shows a lot of pride and a lot of interest and engagement by residents. I'm not going to go through these. Everything here is important. We took the survey and divided it into kind of broad issues. The first one was environmental issues, and people were asked to say, is this extremely important, important, not that important, not at all important? A lot of folks ranked everything either as important or very important. So that's environmental, downtown, you're looking at blues and greens, those are the importance. Recreation and tourism, blues and greens. You'll see a lot under economic development, we start getting into being really important. All the pieces, we talked about small businesses in our last session, we'll continue that conversation. Addressing needs and opportunities for existing businesses, all those things are showing up. Housing, got a lot of green there. If you look through that, the conversation started to really emerge around the idea of homelessness. And so that became an important topic for our last session, and got a lot of, we gave out little sticky dots, and it got a lot of sticky dots. So certainly an area that this community feels strongly about. Health issues, big discussion on substance use. I think that one is in the corner there. Across the, prevention, treatment, and recovery, across the entire spectrum, that showed up in addition to other issues related to health. Chronic disease, mental health, access to fresh and healthy foods, and then opportunities for physical exercise. This is the one where I remember last time we showed this, and there was a kind of a, what is that? Is that an emergency? Gary?
Train.
Train? We're good. Okay. All right. Gary, go take care of that emergency. Make the emergency stop. Okay. We may all just be here tonight all together. You never know. We could become very close friends. So this is the one that got this kind of hushed undertone when I presented this last time. And this should be a trigger for probably, and I think I said this last time, we may not be able to solve this pie chart tonight for the current folks who answered, but our hope is that we can solve this pie chart for folks who are a little bit younger. And the question is, for those who can't see, do you plan on staying in Johnson County after high school? 40% said no, 53% said maybe, and 7% said yes. So this is a typical response in a more rural place where we're losing our students. They leave, they go on to college, they don't come back, they go on for careers, they don't come back. And so the question is, what do we do to create a place where maybe they go on somewhere, but then they return, or we attract people who are that same age bracket. We talked a little bit about agriculture, so I can't remember who on the steering committee asked to include this. This turned into a really kind of robust discussion about the importance of ag to this community, and I'm glad we have Extension here to help with this as well, but there was a really good discussion about agriculture and what are the opportunities and how can Johnson County kind of capitalize on those. So we're going to continue that conversation. So I'm going to ask my people who were here, what other things did you hear or see when I presented this last time, because I did just gloss over, that you think should be part of tonight's conversation, we should revisit? Anything? Okay. So one of the best parts about the survey, at least for me, is when I get to go through and read the comments. Because when you do a survey that's all just like hitting the buttons, you're just getting just a little bit of information from a lot of people, which is incredibly valuable. But what really helps, turn things around is when you can get to the meat of the issue. And so we got a lot of really good comments, so much that we haven't even gone through them all to read every single one, but we will, I promise you. And I know the judge and the mayor have those copies, and every night they go through them and check each one off, right? But we asked some questions to understand what it is about this community that people sort of identify with positive events and experiences. And so we asked folks, this first one was, we know people leave rural places on the weekends and they go to urban areas, or they go to other rural places. And we asked them, when you do that, what are you doing? What kinds of things do you want to bring back to Johnson County that you just really thought were great? And so these were the 50 most frequent used words in that response. So people say, oh, we go to the park, we go shopping, we go to a lake, there are restaurants. These are the types of things that they would love to see back in the community. We asked folks who were younger, under the age of 24, we separated out by age. And sporting Starbucks, I think those are two separate things, although that would be kind of fun. The Starbucks where you can sport at. But again, parks, so experiences, outdoor experiences, shopping, and this trampoline thing keeps showing up. I don't know, how many of y'all have done an indoor trampoline place? Yeah, it is intense. You think I did an exercise class, I'll tell you this one story, which is too much information. But they tell you before you go in the trampoline, and I was doing an exercise class, make sure you use the restroom beforehand, because you'll be jumping around a lot. And I was like, and all of us were like, seriously, we're not toddlers. So you start jumping up like 3 times, and then there's a line out the bathroom, because we're all like, oh my God, there's just so much jumping up and down. So when we plan for our next trampoline park, make sure we have facilities nearby. All right. So what were the priorities of the community? Jobs shows up. It's not infrequent in any of our places. Jobs, drugs, businesses. I'll talk about this word bring, which people have heard me sort of go on this tirade already. Priorities for under 24, better. It was sort of like we have these things, but we want things that are just a bit better. Drugs, businesses, so similar types of themes. So my big kind of launch into tonight is, to me, the difference between 2 critical words. And that when I look through a lot of the responses, and I had organized them alphabetically, and then I just kind of, there's hundreds and hundreds of responses, and I just kind of noticed this huge amount of responses that started with the word bring, right? And so I actually looked up what the word bring means. And it means to carry, convey, conduct, or cause, to come with, to, or toward the community. And when I hear that, it means it's someone else's responsibility, that we're relying on somebody else to give us something. And that's a really big, tall task, and it takes it out of our control. And so I really wanted tonight's discussion to move from bring to create. And when I say create, to cause to come into being is something unique that would not naturally evolve or that is not made by ordinary processes. And so I want us to talk tonight about creating those opportunities, creating those experiences, what we have control of. We can create things. We have control. We don't have as much control over bringing things. And a lot of the places that I do my work, we rely on that bringing. And it's just not going to be it's just too much risk, too much relying on others, too much relying on sort of chance. And when we create, we have control. And so tonight I want to really focus on that word, create. Any thoughts? So that was the fast recap of what we started with the last time. Anything that I missed that you guys want to cover? Anything? I can tell you guys are going to be super vocal. Okay. Then what I want to do is cover what happened last time. All right. So what happened last time is that using what we heard in those priorities, both in the survey data in terms of what's really important, as well as some of those open-ended questions, I had proposed at the time 8 overarching issues, priorities. And they were the first 4 and the second 4, and then someone had asked us to include health, which was a very obviously good idea. And so what we did is around the room, and we have them almost in exactly the same places, we had just stuck up flip chart papers and put the name of the issue and said, all right, go tell us your ideas, right? This is a night of positivity. This is a night of innovation. No one's idea gets laughed at. We're just going to put things up there, and then we're going to talk about what we can do right now without any additional resources. What do we have the energy to do? And then we talked about what might we do for, I think it was $5,000. So really trying to, as opposed to saying, oh, we need to have 1,000 jobs. You know, that's very, very, very big, tall order, and something that we're not going to achieve overnight until we lose momentum. So what we decided to do instead was say, what can we do right now so that we can create momentum and continue on with it? And so I'm going to share those results, and then I'm going to ask us to spend a little time kind of going around, reading what people wrote, looking at what's up there, adding for those who didn't have a chance to contribute last time. And then we're going to get down to take a few of those ideas and really put some teeth behind them. So the 9 ideas, first off, are improving rates of homelessness, substance use prevention, fostering new small businesses, downtown revitalization, creating activities. This was just like things to do. And this was typically going to be more for the kids. Either parents are saying, oh, my kids don't have anything to do, or the kids are saying there's nothing to do around here. Prioritizing agriculture, cleaning up the county, recreational opportunities, which was a recreational tourism kind of combo, and then health was added. And if there are other ideas that you guys want to add, be thinking about them, and I'll do one more check-in before we head around the room. But I'm just going to quickly go over what we found. And there are lots of copies available for those who want to have them. Here. Okay. So what we did was we just transcribed everything that was written on the flip chart. And so on the left-hand side are every idea that was there. And there were a lot of them. We went through several sheets of paper. You will see that these are all ideas. These are not yuck. We need, you know, like this is a bad thing going on. These are solutions. And that's what we're focusing on, is solutions, not identifying, you know, what's going wrong. We obviously kind of have an idea of the challenges we're facing. Our job tonight is to continue that discussion around what do we do, how do we do it differently, so that this time we can figure it out. And I think Regina found a strategic plan for how many years ago?
1993.
1993. And the issues, were they the same or different? They're the same. So we've got to find a solution forward. And that means we have to think outside the box, right? We can't assume the same thing we do now. If it didn't work 20 years ago, 25 years ago, why would it work now? So we're gonna come up with some out-of-the-box ideas. So we have this discussion on the left about these are just ideas. They are pretty general and broad. There was just one sheet of paper out there, so that's what you're somewhat limited. And then all I added for tonight's discussion is the discussion around what can we do right now that costs us no money. Some things that were up there did cost a little bit of money, but in the spirit, they're not super, super expensive. So I want to use this one as an example. Is this a problem, Gary? Are we in trouble? I don't hear your thing going, so we're in good shape. Okay. Turn it off. Wonderful. So I want to use this one as an example. This substance use, this is across the spectrum: prevention, treatment, and recovery. And there was a discussion around, a lot on the recovery side. And so a discussion around, we don't have a place for individuals who are in recovery to have an opportunity to be with each other and to share and to have the therapy that we need that shows the success in recovery. This is not an expensive endeavor. It does require coordination, it requires leadership, it requires someone to donate space. But that's the kind of idea that we're talking about, is what can we do for individuals in recovery to ensure that they have the environment around them that allows them to stay in this kind of safe and clean space. The next one, forum group talks about recovery stages, success stories. I don't know what the curfew downtown Paintsville is, but that's so those are the types of ideas that we were talking about that really don't have big costs to them. They just require people to really kind of come together and say, what do we need to do to support those that we love? So that was substance use. And I'm not going to go through all of them because they're up on the walls and I've got other copies. Homelessness, this was another one that got a lot of conversation and a lot of sticky dots. So at the end of the night, every person got 2 sticky dots. And you got to vote on anything that was under the what do we do right now for free. So all across the room, so people walked around, found the thing they felt most passionate about, and put their sticky dots on it. I'm trying to think, this may have been the second most sticky dotted of all the issues across the 9 priorities. Homelessness, so we talked the ideas for it. And then ideas for right now for free, this idea around, again, organizing, which doesn't sound super sexy, but I can tell you it's not gonna get done unless we organize around it. We keep saying, oh, we should have someone who takes care of this. Well, you've got to figure out how to do that. It can't be just one person. So again, these were ideas of what we could do right now. Small business ideas. Now, tax incentives to improve buildings, that is not for free. Someone's probably paying for that. There are ways that you can do that in whether it's a community foundation or a downtown incentive fund, but that is not what I would call a super, super fast turnaround, but something, the idea is that somehow we have to incentivize the development of buildings that need to be closer to market rate and ready to move in. And so that was up there. Small business education, notification, some kind of marketing, notification to businesses through social media, so celebrating the businesses that we have. Those are all ideas. Health idea, this looks at being around access to nutrition, and then fitness exercises, so sort of the safe and accessible sidewalks, healthy places, choices to eat, and then a list of ideas for right now for free. Educate the community on proper nutrition, fitness opportunities for all ages, thinking about sharing rec space, and things like that. Downtown revitalization, all kinds of stuff, better parking. I knew that was going to show up. I wish I had my great meme that I found last week. Loan fund, buy power lines, affordable rent, and then what can we do right now? Enforce downtown ordinances, clean up day on a regular basis. Approach with restaurants about how do you extend hours to be open longer. Recreation and tourism. This one, Brent, did you lead this one, or was this? which one did you, recreation tourism, or did you do things to do? I think you did things to do, right? So recreation tourism, this is, I know we had some kids here last time who were, spent a lot of time at the recreation tourism. I think there's probably some overlap between those two ideas, between things to do and recreation tourism. These are all ideas. And then on the next page, you'll see what can we do right here, right now. So having a recreation board, organizing more kayak trips. Some things do cost money, some things are less expensive. County cleanup ideas. This is something that keeps showing up. And we did, I said last time, did the Cooperative Extension did a statewide survey across all of Kentucky and all 120 counties. We had almost 40,000 responses, and the most highly prioritized issue was community cleanup and illegal dumping and trash. So it's a big issue. It's a tricky one to tackle. I think the judge is going to talk a little bit about that for a few minutes. Ag, this was a great one. All kinds of ideas, farm to table, aquaculture, certainly capitalizing on hemp, hydroponics, and then what can we do for free? Doing educational farm tours, form some type of ag community, thinking about doing like a community CSA, doing some kind of farm share, agritourism, all that good stuff. And then the last one was activities, things to do. All kinds of events, all kinds of experiences. These are all of the ideas. I like it because we got so specific about a book of cemeteries. Are there a lot of cemeteries in? Okay, let's do a book. Geocaching, all kinds of great stuff. Water activities. And then what can we do? Renovate older buildings. Ask churches to host concerts at the SIP. I know we talk about gospel singers, county fairs, all kinds of stuff. So, those were 9 different issues. Anything, if you were here last time, I have a feeling no one's going to answer me. Anything that we're missing, any theme, anything you want to add before we move on? Did this reflect the conversations you heard at your stations? So at the last session, everyone had a chance to go to 3 different stations, 3 different issues, and contribute, be a part of the conversation, move on to the next one, contribute, be a part of the conversation, and at the end, everyone had a chance to vote. So what I would like tonight, we're not going to vote tonight, but we're going to have a chance to spend some time just looking. Again, I have about 20 copies of all of these things, but spending some time looking and adding. For those who didn't get a chance last time to visit all of them and want to contribute after what you've seen tonight, those who weren't here at all last time. We're only going to spend maybe 20 minutes doing that, and then we're going to get down to some more detail. So Judge, I don't know if you want to talk right now, or Mayor, if you want to talk right now about anything. I won't give you very long. But
Judge, you don't need to, Judge, you don't need to get up or she's not going to give you very much.
I'll sit back down there.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about us looking like we got along well together. You guys could be further apart if you tried. Go sit next to each other, darn it. Okay, would you mind talking about, because I think tonight we're going to spend some time working on maybe just 5 or 6 of these big themes, because I think the county and the city are working towards addressing some of the things that have already been identified. So could you just give a little bit of a highlight?
Yeah, I think two of the larger subjects areas was cleaning up the county, dealing with littering and property conditions, that type of thing. That was one of the major areas, and you're asking for everyone to provide specifics of what their thoughts are on those things. And so, we've had a lot of conversation about that, and I've told a lot of folks who I've talked to privately that individually, that we are working on several initiatives with respect to solid waste. One is that we're working to identify those folks who may not be currently enrolled in the mandatory garbage pickup. If they aren't enrolled in it, they are disposing their garbage somewhere, somehow. And so it's important that we make sure everyone is enrolled in that process to try to help eliminate that illegal or improper disposal. And so we have a process that we're currently undertaking right now. Monica Spriggs is our solid waste coordinator, and she's working on that to identify any property owners that currently aren't enrolled. So that's kind of a heads up. If you aren't, or if you know anyone who isn't, you know, we would expect to identify that here in the very near future. We're also, the county has a nuisance ordinance that deals with accumulating rubbish on properties, excessive rubbish on properties, things like that. And we've issued several citations this year to try to initiate that process. Some have actually gone, we've taken to court to enforce that. So that is going to continue. That we work with that. We do that in conjunction with an ecology officer who works for Sheriff Saylor's office, and so we work with them to help us enforce those violations of property. So that's one of those overreaching subjects that everybody, like you said, out of those surveys that the Extension Service did, that's what people are concerned about. So just so you know, those things are very much on our radar, and we've already started moving down that road of enforcing what we have, and then obviously tweaking what we don't have in place that needs to be. The other item that we see a lot is, saw a lot of conversation on is about development around Paintsville Lake. And so I feel like this is a good time, and Regina and I talked earlier today, it's a good time to share that information. We have requested from the Corps of Engineers to update the master plan for Paintsville Lake. The master plan is just exactly what it says it is. It was done by the Corps of Engineers back when the lake was constructed in 1977-78, and it has not been updated since then. But if you want to ask the Corps of Engineers to do something on their property, that master plan guides their decision-making process. And so back in 77-78, recreation was probably not on their radar because Paintsville Lake, as you all know, was built for water control, flood control. So recreation is probably not a big part of their master plan. So we requested that that be updated. The Corps of Engineers, Congressman Rogers' office has helped us facilitate this. We've made that request. We did not get in this budget cycle, but we are on what they consider, basically what we would all consider a waiting list. If they should have projects that are already waiting, that are already assigned to be updated, that does not need all the funding that's been assigned to them, then we're on that list to go ahead and move us in during this current cycle. If not, then I think we would be in the next cycle, which is, I think, 2021, I believe. So that's a big key piece. If we're talking about development around Paintsville Lake, then we have to get that master plan updated. So that request has been made. Secondly, as far as development, you obviously have to reach agreements with the Corps and with the state for what you do with those. We have a meeting scheduled tentatively for the first part of January, just to meet with the folks in Lawrence County, the judge and judge executive down there, because Lawrence County has a lease in place, an agreement in place for the development that they have that has been done at the Yatesville Lake area. And so we have a meeting with them to get their input and get their lease documents and those type of things to kind of give us some guidance on how we can achieve that, because for development around Paintsville Lake, those things have to be in place. We have to have a master plan updated, and we certainly have to know what type of structure an agreement would have in it with the Corps and with the state. So those are two of the bigger, more heavily discussed items, and there's a lot of details on this list of things, but if you want to talk about the development around Paintsville Lake, you want to talk about the county cleanup, those are some things that the county is working on already.
And they will for sure be a part of the written strategic.
Absolutely.
But I think it's important to know sort of the degree of bureaucracy and federal and state and local stuff that needs to go on. So I appreciate you giving us an update on that, so we don't have to necessarily focus on those particular initiatives this evening, but I'm sure anyone who wants to help.
Absolutely. And the cooperation on the requests have been very positive and favorable. We're not getting any pushback on a request, it's just the process.
Sure.
But no pushback from anybody we've asked. I mean, Corps of Engineers called us a few weeks ago just to say, hey, you know, we know we got your request, we know that you want this, and you know, we're going to get you squeezed in there as quick as we possibly can. So,
okay.
Thanks.
Any questions for the judge? Okay, awesome. So here is what we're going to go behind the curtain. That'd be pretty funny, wouldn't it? Okay. All right, so here is what I'd like to do until about 7. Is I want folks to have an opportunity to either take a copy here. I didn't staple them because I didn't know how I was going to use them. But each one is a stack of what's on the board. I would love folks to walk around, kind of check out what was written. It's all up here, but this way you'll have a little bit more time, and then add. If you were not here last time and you have something that's just burning inside of you that you really want to put up there, then let's do it. We want as much input as possible. And so we're going to give about 15 minutes to do that. So you guys are, I'm trying to think if we need to have monitors or note takers. So I wouldn't mind for folks who were here last time, if you felt like you gave all the input that you needed to, I wouldn't mind to have volunteers standing at each one of the flip chart papers, adding ideas. That would be really helpful. So just go around, check these out, read. Again, here are additional copies if you don't want to sit there and walk around, if you prefer to sit and read that. But if you have other ideas, since we do have a fair amount of people who were not here last time, and your idea is not up there, then let's put it up there. So we'll do this until about 7, and then we're going to take about 5 to 6 of these issues and really get down to better understanding exactly what we're talking about, the who, what, why, when, how, so that when we go forward and do the strategic plan, we really understand the context in which this suggestion was given, so that we don't kind of go awry with it somewhere. I'll give you one example. It is around a lot of discussion around code enforcement, and we need better direction of what that means. Where that means. Are we talking about in the county? Because in the county there really aren't that many codes. Are we talking about in the city? If we're talking about the city, what specific codes are we talking about? What code, or if we don't have the code, what codes are we looking for? So really trying to get some more detail so that, because I can tell you that this plan is not going to be fully implemented by the elected officials in Regina. This plan can only be implemented and adopted by everyone in the community. So we want to make sure when we make these suggestions and strategies that they really reflect what folks are talking about. All right, so I've got pens here. If you're willing to be a note taker, just go find a flip chart person or flip chart to stand by. And if you weren't here, please contribute as much as you want to, and then we'll go from there, okay?
Councilman, why don't you call where they are, just.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yes. This corner is substance use. I believe this one is small downtown revitalization. This should be health. This should be recreation, tourism, ag, clean up the county, ag, things to do, small business, and homelessness. All right? So homelessness, substance use, downtown revitalization, health, recreation, tourism, clean up the community, agriculture, things to do, small business. I did it. All right. So spend some time. Go. Get up. Go. Go. Yes. All right. We won't be sitting for too long. But I wanted to, now that everyone's had a chance to at least kind of glance around the room, I now really want to get into some of the specifics. Certainly it appears as though we had we've got some additional comments, which is great, for some of our sheets. And so what I'd really like us to do is, I would like to separate into groups. And these are the groups you're going to hang out with for about 30 minutes. And I want to know within each one of these groups, what is the specific challenge? And this is the only time I'll allow us to bring up a negative, but what are we trying to uniquely address? Right? We don't want to say, oh, we're addressing the drug problem. That's not specific enough. We're addressing, I'll use an example, we're addressing a sense of isolation for individuals in recovery, okay? So I want us to get very specific so that we can ensure that the activities that are proposed in the strategic plan will address that issue. Same thing in, let's just say downtown revitalization, we renovate old buildings. Like, what specifically, you know, how are we renovating them? How are we renovating? Where are they? What's the purpose? What's going to go in them? So what specific challenge are you addressing? So the first line is challenge. What for free activities are you proposing, right? So we're still working in today. We're not going to say, oh, we need to have a gazillion dollars. What can we do right now to launch this forward? Knowing that we're not going to have gigantic impacts, but we're going to have some impacts that are going to allow us to take that next step. What are the necessary components for this strategy to succeed? And that's where we can say something like volunteers, a building, a place, a leader, a policy, something along those lines. What needs to be in place for this to be successful? Who needs to be involved? And then what do you think the impacts are from this strategy? And when I do this with strategic planning, and I'll do this with the group, is I actually usually start backwards. And I say, what are we trying to fix? You know, how will we know if we're successful? And so let's just say, we'll go back to the substance use issue, is how would we know if we're successful with this issue? Someone, how would we measure success?
The health department getting
Crime.
Arrest records.
record.
Yeah, arrest records.
Okay, so arrest records would go down.
So decrease in number.
Yeah, individuals in recovery would have jobs. So these are the types of things that we're trying to change. So in order to change that, I usually work backwards and say, let's make sure we're always having our eyes on the prize and we're not just throwing out activities that won't have that impact. So I want to know, what are the impacts from this strategy? So I think, looking around, how many people we have, I'm not really counting, so if we stuck with, let's just say we took, let me see one thing here before I make this final decision. Okay. If I ask folks to pick their pet project, their pet issue, let me just start right now. Who would do downtown development? If I said, this is what we're going to focus on for the next 30 minutes, who would do downtown development? One.
We need a team of people.
We do need a team. Okay, we'll keep going. We don't do it all. Okay. Then we have substance use. Okay. What about agriculture? Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, that's good. All right, I just want to make sure we have enough for people. What about small business development? Okay. Okay. What about homelessness? Okay. What am I missing? Maybe cleanup, community cleanup. As long as we are not going to be fixing on what the judge had mentioned, right? We're going to talk about other strategies. Okay. And then things to do. Or things to do, tourism, recreation. Okay.
Oh, I'm recreation.
So here's my proposal, is that we will, for right now, not do small business development. We will continue to work with our other folks when we get to that. So for those who pick their project, please go stand by your board, and then I will just go through the directions one last time. So take a second, go to the board. If you need your pen back, you may have it.
Are we supposed to do some of those?
Just for right now, yes.
The first test.
Yes. Okay, do I need more? All right, so pick a board, any board.
Cleaned up. I wrote.
Substance use, what do y'all, downtown? Oh, that's a group, okay. You guys doing health?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay, you guys have things, or recreation tourism, community cleanup. How many do we have for ag? We got these 5? Perfect. All right, so we will not for tonight, we won't do small business and we won't do things to do. I think that'll get wrapped up over here anyway. All right, so your quest should you choose to accept it, which you will, is to give some detail behind it, okay? What is the real issue that we're trying to challenge? Don't just say poor health, like what specifically? What 4 free activities are you proposing? You have a list of them there, or you can think of some additional ones. Who needs to be involved? Who are the partners that have to be at the table? What are the necessary components for the strategy to succeed? And then what are the impacts from this strategy? Questions? All right, about 30 minutes and then we're gonna switch one time. Okay. Yes, I'm gonna pull this, I feel like his voice is be more moving tonight. Okay, so here's what I want to do. We're going to get you out of here a few minutes early, but what I would like is someone from each station just to tell me one activity that you are excited. Don't you walk away from it. That you think that you're excited about, just real quickly, so that everyone hears it. And holds us all a little bit accountable. And then what we'll do afterwards is I will collect all these, I will transcribe them. Whoever noticed that one of the things was missing, sticky dots from last time, thank you. We have, fortunately, pictures of all that, so we found the sticky dots. But we will then start compiling everything. We'll get together with the steering committee and then draft this plan. And then I believe the judge and the mayor will then lead a sort of unveiling of the plan. Once it's complete and get last public input. All right, so I'm going to start with my recreation tourism folks.
Oh.
Yes. What happens when you're not paying attention, right? Okay.
So you want this?
One activity that you think is good that you're excited about.
Okay. Well, it was so extensive, all the cool stuff, and all the things that they mentioned. This is the second round, so we don't know all the conversation that happened. But what they came up with was a city-county creation of they called it a board, but we thought it would be a better council to define duties and for accountability, and their words were authority, budget parameters. I don't know what they were thinking, but we were thinking what a great idea it would be to have such an entity that reviewed all this stuff and didn't jump into activities, but came up with a advisory committee and created a plan and then presented it to the legal boards that existed. They said the necessary components were to have city-county buy-in, they got to have some legal guidance, I agree with all that, policy development. But basically, the necessary component is to develop this council. Some of the people they mentioned were Paintsville Recreation, Tourism, Soccer, Schools, Trail Town, City Council, Fiscal Court, at-large members, great team. The impacts they felt would be the economy, better health, better recreation, large payback by working together as a united team with a plan.
Thank you very much, Brenda. All right, let's go. So this one is what? We're doing health here?
Yes, this one is health. Marketing what is already available in our community, focusing on communication, knowing what's there.
Okay, so that was, and that one has, I do listen as I'm walking around. I've noticed some people say, we already have that. We already have those things in this county. And my response as the outsider will always be, I'm going to tell you, if people don't know about it, you don't have it. So I think that's a really important comment, is to say, let's make sure we have a lot of good things going on. How do we make sure the community knows? Thank you. What do you guys have over here? Downtown?
Yeah.
The enthusiasm's overwhelming.
This wasn't our fault.
Yeah, great.
Our main activity was to make a team to address the issues of everyone, which we feel like we're doing here.
Right, okay, so
Learning to work together.
do we have a downtown, do we have a downtown, I know we don't have Main Street, we don't have Main Street. We do. We do have Main Street, okay, perfect, okay. All right, perfect, okay. That needs some work, but good, all right. Substance use. All right,
So they put needle exchange with grant funding, they put education in schools because kids need to know all this
and the finding expenses for NA, AA, and CR.
What is CR?
What is it?
Celebrate recovery.
Thank you. Everyone said one time, I was like, nope, still no closer going to this. Celebrate recovery. We can write that down so I can remember that. Thank you. All right, we are coming around to the homeless group.
One that jumped out to me was to create a point person that mentions a board to support that person, to try, as was being discussed over here, try to bring all these things together. There's a lot of resources out there, but like you said, if people don't know about them, people don't understand how to get into the system and get what they need, it's not any use to them. So, you know, there are a lot of privacy issues in there. There is a lot of mental illness associated with homelessness and substance abuse, criminal records, and a lot of things. So there's a lot of that would have to be incorporated. You have to have representation from those sectors to get those folks the help they need. Social workers, mental health professionals, I'm sure probation and parole, even people like that would have to be involved. But the idea would be to find ways to get these folks into permanent housing in spite of whatever issues may cause them to be homeless in the first place.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, and we've got agriculture in the back?
Yes. So we were really interested in the part they talked about expanding into niche markets. So expanding the idea of agriculture or farming in this area from just tomatoes to Christmas tree farms in general. I grow a lot of trees. Mushrooms, essential oil plants, ginseng. I've actually been asked by the state if I want to grow ginseng for them. Just expanding into other areas like that, and possibly getting apple tree orchards back, because we have Apple Day, and we should maybe have some apple orchards. So maybe getting back into things that have disappeared. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, and then we have, last but not least, community cleanup.
They said everyone needs to participate in garbage pickup. And the activities were to consult with Solid Waste Board and the Utility Board about who doesn't have garbage pickup but who has city water. Approach Utility Board with suggestion that the garbage pickup bill should be included with the utility bill. The only question being on that would be the legality and the process of doing that. And then cooperation between Apple Valley and the various utility boards and the Solid Waste Board. Those are the same people that are the WHO, and the results being fewer dump sites, less trash in the lake, more revenue from pickup, and additional funds for cleanup efforts.
Awesome. Okay.
Allison, if I could comment, that's how we arrived at the plan we're working on now to determine mandatory is I did an open records request to city utilities, not asking for names, but just addresses for everyone, because they service, Bob said here, 94% of our county.
Roughly, yes.
So if 94% of the county we service with city water, then that's a good database to pull from to get addresses of folks. And then we created a database Monica has to compare to Apple Valley database of customers, and we're going to be able to determine who's not enrolled. And so we've already that's the process that we're going through. I just shared that earlier. That's exactly what we're working on right now. Right there.
Okay, so are there any, I've got everyone, right? All right, so all you in the room and all the folks who are here for the first session, we look forward to your participation in implementation. You're here, we're excited that you're willing to engage, and you will hopefully, this is just the very, very beginning. So on behalf of the judge and the mayor and Regina, who's helped hold us together, I want to thank you for being here. This is just the beginning, and I have to say, I have, in the last year, I think my staff, SEDEC has worked across probably 85 counties, and I would say that Johnson County is pretty close to #1 in terms of the places I've enjoyed coming to and the hospitality and the engagement. So I've talked about you everywhere I've gone, and so I just really appreciate your degree of participation and enthusiasm.
By way of reminder, we're hoping to roll this out in January.
Yeah. That's the second time you've said that, and that is the second time I've reacted to that. Okay. Please drive very safely, and yeah. Everything a go on the roads, we're good.
Except 321 going into Paintsville. Little water, the trick on the roadway.
A little bit. Okay, please be careful. Thank you. Grab a snack as you leave.
Right.